Mr. Ganesh, Rajaram.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I speak in support of this motion by the Ministry of Law to appoint a select committee to examine and report on deliberate online falsehoods. As stated in the Green Paper and reinforced by the ministers today, online falsehoods or fake news, as it's more commonly known, can have very serious and debilitating consequences for societies. We have seen how polarizing the effects can be in countries like the United States and France in recent years, and we have also had our own share of fake news occurrences in Singapore. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, on Saturday, 23rd September last year, I received a WhatsApp message from a retired civil servant who had received it from a senior civil servant, and it contained a link to a breaking news story that alleged that the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Vivian Balakrishnan, had collapsed at a UN summit in New York. Within minutes, the story went viral. I reached out quickly to a trusted contact in MCI, who immediately assured me that the story was indeed fake. However, what astonished me was how quickly this piece of fake news spread and the alarm it caused. I can only imagine the distress caused to those who know the minister. This incident, and many others like it, tell us that online falsehoods or fake news is a phenomenon that is not going to go away. Indeed, it is going to be more prevalent as the world becomes digital and reliant on social media and online platforms for news. So how do we combat this phenomenon, knowing that it's something that we cannot control? I would like to suggest three possible approaches that perhaps could be further explored by the committee. Firstly, speed and magnitude of response. One of the areas that the government and the community have to work on is creating multiple credible platforms to push out accurate information, corrections, and rebuttals. The Singapore government has 16 ministries and 61 statutory boards. And I'm not even including government-linked companies here. Each ministry and statutory board has its own website and social media channels. In confronting fake news that is viral and in danger of triggering a nationwide panic, there must be an immediate response across all channels to ensure that the accurate information drowns out the fake news. Mainstream news media outlets can help lead this charge by enhancing their credibility. At a digital media conference in November of last year, the Straits Times editor and editor-in-chief of the Singapore Press Holdings English, Malay, and Tamil Media Group, Mr. Warren Fernandez, said, and I quote, "Societies have to find a way to make sure that good content gets out there, because if you don't do anything about it, bad content will drive out good content." I agree completely with this point and feel strongly that newsrooms of today can do a lot more. One could make the argument that most Singaporeans get their news in real time from platforms like Facebook, because even mainstream news media today get their news and videos from Facebook. But I believe that this can change with more robust and credible news gathering and reporting. Mr. Deputy Speaker, in situations of critical importance beyond government platforms and mainstream news media, we should also consider immediately marshalling social media influencers here in Singapore to help us get the word out as fast as possible. While we all know that our very own PM Lee is one of the biggest social media influencers in Singapore because of the sheer number of followers across his social media channels, there are others who also have a wider reach. For us to combat fake news with immediacy and magnitude, it is critical that we engage as many credible influencers as possible. The other approach which the committee could focus on is education. I was pleased to read this week that tertiary institutions in Singapore are taking up the fight against fake news. 3 polytechnics and universities in Singapore have recently introduced and modified courses to include emphasis on fake news. Students will be taught to do credibility checks on sources, cross-referencing, and the use of authoritative sources. While that's a great start, I feel that the education has to start at a much earlier stage, at preschool. If you go to any restaurant or hawker center in Singapore today, toddlers watching content on iPads and mobile phones are the norm. Most kids learn to use iPads and mobile phones even before they learn how to speak. Sadly, when my son was growing up, these devices were not available. In this digital age, parents and teachers need to teach kids about the difference between what's fake and what's true. It's akin to teaching our children not to talk to strangers. To be able to tell the difference between what's fake and what's true has to be ingrained in kids from young. This is not something that can be solved by legislation. This needs a whole of Singapore approach. Everyone from parents to grandparents to teachers need to get involved. And lastly, there is a need for the small group of influencers out there who take pride in offering be fake, but their views and opinions can be very damaging to our social and cultural fabric. To me, opinion pieces that can undermine sensitive issues or negotiations can be even more damaging than fake news from foreign sources. These influencers are Singaporeans, many of whom are very familiar with the OB markers as they may be experts or former media professionals. Many of these influencers may contribute commentaries to foreign online publications that are written to deliberately elicit a strong reaction. The community should be wary of these influences and learn to seek other credible sources of information before making a judgment. Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, in closing, I would like to commend the Ministry of Law for this initiative to convene a select committee. Fake news is a very serious phenomenon, and if left unchecked, will have disastrous consequences for our social fabric. Thank you.